She said it like we were sharing a secret. Wait, aren't you supposed to be on a business trip with my wife? I set the cup down carefully. She's actually staying at her boss's place for a few days. The words came out flat, honest. I watched her face for the flicker, surprise, confusion, anything human. Instead, she smiled wider. Before we dive deeper into this story, I have one small request. Please subscribe, drop a like, comment, and hit that hype button to boost this channel so more people can discover these incredible Reddit stories. Forget about her. Dinner tonight? I should have felt something. Temptation, maybe. Flattery. Instead, I felt the way you do when someone's reading from a script and forgotten you can tell. Her perfume was expensive. Her interest wasn't. I'm good, I said. She touched my wrist. Brief, calculated. Your loss. Then she was gone, heels clicking across marble, and I was sitting there with cold coffee wondering why the whole thing felt like a test I'd nearly failed. And that woman, everything about her screamed pattern. I paid for the coffee I hadn't drunk and walked out into October sunshine that felt wrong. Too bright, too sharp. The hotel was downtown, glass and steel, hosting some regional business conference Amanda had mentioned twice, then stopped talking about. My wife. The conference was supposed to run until Thursday, except Amanda had told me Sunday night she was flying to Denver for the week. Client emergency. Last minute. She'd been apologetic in that distant way she'd perfected over the past year, kissing my cheek while checking her phone. I stood on the sidewalk and pulled out mine. Found her calendar. She'd given me access 2 years ago, back when transparency still mattered. The Denver trip was there, blocked out. But underneath, visible if you actually looked, was the conference registration. Right here. This city. This hotel. 2 conflicting entries. She'd forgotten to delete one. The coffee in my stomach turned acidic. I walked 3 blocks to where I'd parked my truck, a 10-year-old Ford that Amanda had been nagging me to replace. Too old, she'd say. Doesn't fit the image. What image? I'd ask. She never had a good answer. The drive home took 20 minutes through traffic that shouldn't have existed at 2 in the afternoon. I spent it replaying the conversation, the woman's tone, her certainty about Amanda's location, the way she'd leaned in when she mentioned dinner, like she was offering something more than food. It felt orchestrated, a performance with an audience of one. Our house sat at the end of a cul-de-sac in one of those neighborhoods where every lawn looks identical and nobody talks to each other. Amanda had picked it, said it was an investment. Good schools for kids we'd never had, rising property values, all the things that mattered to her. I unlocked the front door and stood in the entryway. The house was silent, no TV humming upstairs, no coffee maker gurgling in the kitchen, just emptiness that echoed. Amanda's work bag wasn't by the door where she usually dropped it. Her favorite mug wasn't in the sink. The small things you don't notice until you're looking for them. I climbed the stairs to our bedroom, opened her closet, half empty. She'd packed for a week, just like she said. Business casual, mostly. But tucked in the back, I saw the gaps where her nice dresses had been. The black one with the low back. The blue wrap dress she wore to dinners that mattered. You don't bring those to client emergencies. I didn't confront her. That's what she'd expect. What she'd prepared for. Instead, I went downstairs, opened my laptop at the kitchen table, and started mapping. Shipping logistics is about dependencies. You can't move container A without truck B being in position C at time D. Everything connects. Marriages are the same. They're systems. And when one component starts lying, the whole structure shows stress fractures if you know where to look. First, I pulled up our joint credit card account. Amanda handled most of the bills, but we'd kept everything linked after we got married. Transparency, she'd said. Trust. Hotel charges. 4 of them, each one for this city, not Denver. The dates aligned with her supposed business trip, but the amounts were wrong, not the budget chains she'd booked for work. This was the Meridian downtown, $400 a night. I took a screenshot, saved it to a folder I titled Systems Review. Next, her text messages. We'd synced our devices years ago through the family cloud plan. She'd probably forgotten. I certainly had, until now. I scrolled back 3 weeks. Found the gaps, nights where she'd texted me, working late, but her location services showed her phone static at an address I didn't recognize. A building in the waterfront district. The new construction area where condos started at 7 figures. I cross-referenced the address with public property records. Commercial and residential mixed use. 50 units. No way to know which one without more digging. Her calendar next. The conference registration was still there, buried under the Denver trip. But when I checked the conference website, her badge hadn't been scanned for any sessions except the Monday morning keynote. 1 attendance marker in 3 days. She wasn't at the conference. She wasn't in Denver. She was somewhere in this city, lying to me in real time. I opened a spreadsheet, started logging everything. Dates, times, locations, charges. The pattern emerged like container routes on a shipping map. Every Wednesday and Friday for the past 2 months, Amanda's location services put her at that waterfront address between 5 p.m. and midnight. Every Thursday, there was a restaurant charge at places I'd never heard of, expensive places. By midnight, I had 3 beers I'd barely touched and a timeline that proved my wife had been living a separate life while I'd been tracking shipping containers and eating reheated leftovers. The anger should have hit then. The betrayal. Instead, I felt the same cold clarity I got when diagnosing a logistics failure. This wasn't emotional yet. It was data. I needed more data. Wednesday morning, I called in sick to work. First time in 5 years. My boss, a former Navy logistics officer named Patricia, actually sounded concerned. "You all right, David? Just need a day. Nothing serious. Take 2 if you need them. You've got the time banked." I hung up and stared at my phone. Amanda had texted at 7. "Meetings all day. Don't wait up." Her routine phrase, the one that meant she wouldn't be home until I was asleep. I showered, dressed in jeans and a dark jacket, grabbed my truck keys. The waterfront district sat 20 minutes southeast, tucked against the bay where old warehouses had been gutted and converted into luxury living. Glass towers reflected morning sun. A coffee shop on the corner charged $8 for espresso. People in expensive workout clothes jogged past carrying small dogs. This wasn't Amanda's world, or mine. But apparently, it was someone's. I parked across the street from the address her location services had pinged repeatedly. The building was 15 stories, all glass and steel and architectural statements. A doorman in a gray uniform stood under the awning. Security cameras covered every angle. I couldn't just walk in, not without a plan. So I waited. Hours passed. I learned the rhythm of the place. Delivery trucks in the morning, residents leaving for work, a cleaning crew arriving at 9. The doorman changed shifts at 2. At 4:30, the pattern broke. A black Mercedes pulled into the circular drive. Sleek, expensive, the kind of car that costs more than my annual salary. The doorman opened the driver's door immediately, greeting whoever emerged with the familiarity of routine. Tall guy, early 40s, fitted gray suit that probably came from somewhere with a name I couldn't pronounce. He moved like someone who'd never been told no. Confident, entitled. He handed the keys to the doorman, said something that made them both laugh. Then he disappeared inside. I took a photo. License plate first, then his face. Zoomed in, made sure it was clear. Sent both to myself in an email I titled Maintenance Records. At 5:15, Amanda's car appeared. My wife drove a white Lexus sedan. Leased. She'd insisted on it 2 years ago despite my protests about the monthly payment. "It's about appearance," she'd said. "People judge." She pulled up behind where the Mercedes had been. The doorman opened her door with the same familiarity. She smiled at him, said something brief, walked inside like she owned the place. I waited 30 minutes, then an hour. At 7, I drove to a diner 3 blocks away and ordered coffee I didn't drink while running the license plate through a vehicle registry search. The Mercedes belonged to Jason Brennan, commercial property manager, address listed at the waterfront building I'd just been watching, Unit 1014. I pulled up his business profile, slick website, corporate headshots, client testimonials from development firms and investment groups. He brokered high-value real estate deals, connected wealthy buyers with premium properties. His LinkedIn showed 300 connections, most with titles like Managing Director and Principal Investor. This was who my wife had been seeing. Not a coworker, not some random conference hookup. A professional manipulator who made his living reading people and giving them what they wanted. I finished the coffee I hadn't touched and drove home. Amanda came home at 11. I was in bed, lights off, pretending to sleep. I heard her shoes on the stairs, the bathroom door closing, water running. She slid into bed beside me, careful not to touch. Her hair smelled like expensive shampoo, not the brand she kept in our shower. "You awake?" she whispered. I didn't answer. She sighed, rolled over, and within 10 minutes, her breathing had evened into sleep. I lay there staring at the ceiling, mapping the next steps. Thursday morning, I waited until Amanda left for work before heading back downtown. Different approach this time. I needed information, not surveillance. The building management office was on the ground floor, tucked behind the lobby. A young woman sat at the reception desk, scrolling through her phone. Her nameplate read, Jessica. "Help you?" she asked without looking up. "I'm supposed to meet a friend who lives here. Jason Brennan? But I forgot which unit and my phone is completely out." She glanced at me finally. "I can't give out resident information." "Right, of course. Security." I smiled, embarrassed. "He's going to be so annoyed. We had lunch plans." "You could call him." "Phone's completely out," I reminded her, holding up my iPhone with a blank screen. I'd powered it off in the parking lot. Jessica hesitated. "What's your name?" "David." She typed something, frowned at her screen. "He's not expecting any visitors today." "That's because I'm an hour early. Classic me. I'll just wait in the coffee shop and charge my phone." I turned to leave. She stopped me. "Unit 1014, but if he's not there, I can't let you up." "Of course. Thanks." I walked out before she could reconsider. Now I had confirmation. Jason Brennan, Unit 1014, same building where Amanda spent her Wednesday and Friday evenings. The coffee shop across the street became my office for the next 3 days. I learned more than I wanted to. Jason left every morning at 7:30. Gym first. There was a fitness center 2 blocks north where he had a membership. I followed him once, watched through the windows as he ran on a treadmill for exactly 45 minutes before moving to weights. Everything precise, controlled, work next. His office was in a different building, older construction near the financial district. I couldn't follow him inside, but I could watch the parking garage. He'd arrive by 9, leave around 5 unless he had client dinners. Those dinners were frequent, Tuesday and Thursday nights usually, high-end restaurants along the waterfront. He'd meet older men in expensive suits, shake hands, order wine I couldn't afford to smell. But Wednesdays and Fridays were different. Those nights, he'd return to his building by 5. Change clothes. I could see his shadow moving past the 10th floor windows. And then he'd wait. For Amanda. She'd arrive between 5:30 and 6, stay until 11, sometimes midnight. I watched the lights in his unit, watched shadows move behind curtains, tried not to imagine the specifics. On Friday night, I broke. Not emotionally. Structurally. The surveillance wasn't enough. I needed leverage. I needed Jason to understand that he'd miscalculated. So I waited until Amanda's Lexus pulled into the garage, waited another 30 minutes to make sure she was settled. Then I walked across the street and into the building. The evening doorman was different from the day shift. Older, reading a paperback novel. He looked up as I approached. "Visiting someone?" he asked. "Jason Brennan, 1014. He's expecting me." The doorman reached for the phone. I stopped him. Actually, it's a surprise. His girlfriend asked me to bring something up. Anniversary thing. The lie felt smooth, practiced. The doorman hesitated, then smiled. That's nice. Go ahead. I took the elevator to the 10th floor. The hallway was silent, thick carpet muffling footsteps. Unit 1014 was at the end, corner unit with double doors. I stood there for a long moment. Listened. Heard voices inside, muffled. Amanda's laugh, the one she used to give me. I knocked. The voices stopped. Footsteps approached. The door opened. Jason Brennan stood there, in an untucked dress shirt and slacks. His expression shifted from confusion to understanding to something like fear in 3 seconds. "Can I help you?" he asked. "We need to talk," I said. Jason didn't move, just stood there blocking the doorway, trying to decide if I was a threat. Behind him, I heard movement. Amanda's voice. "Who is it?" "Wrong apartment," Jason called back. To me, quieter. "You need to leave." "I'm David, Amanda's husband. We met briefly at a company thing last year. You probably don't remember." We hadn't met. But the lie gave him an exit. He could pretend this was a coincidence, a misunderstanding. His jaw tightened. This isn't a good time. I imagine not. Amanda appeared behind him. She froze when she saw me. The wine glass in her hand trembled slightly. "David? What are you doing here?" "Looking for my wife. Someone told me she might be in Denver, but her credit card statement suggested otherwise." The color drained from her face. Jason's hand went to the door frame, knuckles white. "Let's talk outside," Jason said. "Why? This seems like exactly the right place." Amanda stepped forward. "David, please, let me explain." "Explain what? That you've been spending Wednesday and Friday nights here for 2 months? That you lied about Denver? That you've been pretending we're fine while you're living a separate life?" Jason moved between us. "You need to calm down." I'm perfectly calm. And I was. That was the strange part. No yelling, no shaking, just cold precision. "I'm not here to make a scene. I'm here to understand the math." "The math?" Amanda repeated. "How long this has been going on, whether you were planning to tell me. What happens next?" I looked at Jason, and whether he understands what he's gotten into. Jason straightened, taller than me by 3 inches, broader, the kind of physical presence that usually intimidated. "I think you should leave before this gets worse." "Gets worse?" I smiled. "It's already worse. My wife is in your apartment wearing the dress I bought her for our anniversary last year. You're standing here pretending you have authority in this situation. It's already as bad as it gets." "I'll call security." "Go ahead. Let's explain to the doorman downstairs why Amanda Mitchell has been visiting you twice a week. Let's explain it to your neighbors. Better yet, let's explain it to the building manager. Isn't that your job, managing this property?" Jason's expression shifted. He was calculating now. Risks, exposure. His reputation was his business. A scandal would destroy him. "What do you want?" he asked. "The truth. From both of you. Starting with how this started." Amanda moved past Jason. Her eyes were red but dry. "Not here. Not like this." "Then where? Our house? The place you've been lying about every time you text me about meetings." "David." 3 months, Amanda. I pulled the credit card records. The first hotel charge was 3 months ago. So this isn't new. This isn't a mistake. This is a choice you made over and over while I was home thinking we were fine. She flinched. "I'm sorry." "Sorry you did it? Or sorry I found out?" "Both. Neither. I don't know." She looked at Jason, then back at me. "I didn't plan this. But you did it anyway. I was unhappy. You were working all the time. We barely talked. I felt invisible." The excuses sounded rehearsed, like she'd been practicing them for exactly this moment. "So you met him, and decided I didn't matter anymore." "It wasn't like that." "Then what was it like?" She couldn't answer. Jason watched us both, silent now. He'd stepped back from the doorway, giving us space. Smart move. Let Amanda handle the emotional labor. I turned to him. You do this a lot? Excuse me? Married women. Is this a pattern or is Amanda special? His face hardened. You don't know anything about me. I know you drive a Mercedes you can't quite afford based on your business income. I know you lease this place and 2 others as investment properties you show to clients. I know your ex-wife left you 3 years ago and the divorce cost you half your assets. I know your reputation is built on discretion and professionalism, and one public scandal would destroy everything you've built. Jason went very still. How do you... I'm good at research. It's what I do for a living, and you're not as careful as you think. Amanda was staring at me like she'd never seen me before. Maybe she hadn't. Maybe I'd been invisible too. What do you want? Jason repeated. His voice had lost its authority. I want you to understand what you've taken. I want Amanda to understand what she's chosen. And I want both of you to know that this doesn't end the way you think it does. Are you threatening us? Amanda asked. I'm explaining consequences. You wanted someone who paid attention. Well, you have it now. Both of you. I turned and walked to the elevator, pressed the button, waited. Neither of them followed. As the doors closed, I saw Amanda collapse onto Jason's couch, her head in her hands. Jason stood frozen by the door, watching me disappear. The woman in red was waiting in the lobby. She sat in one of the leather chairs near the windows, legs crossed, scrolling through her phone. When I stepped out of the elevator, she looked up, smiled. How'd it go? I stopped. You've been following me. I've been watching the building, you just happened to show up. She stood, walked over. Up close, she looked tired, older than I'd first thought. Did you tell him? Tell him what? That you know, that he's not as clever as he thinks. Something like that. She nodded. Good. Now comes the hard part. Which is deciding what you actually want. Revenge, divorce, closure. She tilted her head. Or something bigger. Who are you? I told you, someone who knows what it's like. That's not an answer. She smiled again, but there was no warmth in it. My name is Victoria. I used to work in property law until Jason Brennan decided I was a problem. He destroyed my career over a contract dispute, made sure I couldn't get hired anywhere in this city. I spent 6 months watching my life fall apart because he wanted to win an argument. So this is revenge. This is justice. There's a difference. Not really. She studied me. You're angry. You should be. But anger without direction is just noise. If you really want to hurt him, you need to be smarter than confronting him in his apartment. I didn't come here for advice. No. You came here to feel something. To take back control. I get it. But you walked away and left them together. Now they're going to compare notes. Strategize. Maybe even bond over the shared threat. You just made them a team. I hadn't thought of that. Victoria pulled out her phone, showed me a photo. Jason with another woman, blonde, younger, different restaurant, different city. He's done this before, multiple times. Amanda isn't special. She's just this year's model. Why are you showing me this? Because you need to understand what you're dealing with. Jason is a predator. He finds women who are vulnerable, unhappy marriages, career frustrations, midlife crises, and he offers them an escape, makes them feel seen. Then he moves on when someone better comes along. Amanda's an adult. She made her choice. She made a stupid choice, but Jason engineered it. That's what he does. Victoria pocketed her phone. I've been watching him for a year, documenting, learning his patterns. I was about to move when you appeared, and I realized something. What? You have access I don't. You're married to his current target. You can get close in ways I can't, and if we work together, we can destroy him properly. Not just expose him, ruin him. I should have walked away. Should have gone home, called a lawyer, filed for divorce like a rational adult. Instead, I asked, "What did you have in mind?" Victoria's apartment was small, efficient, nothing like Jason's glass tower. She lived across town in a converted warehouse building where artists and grad students paid month to month. Her unit was on the third floor, one room with exposed brick and windows overlooking a parking lot. The walls were covered in printouts, photos, timelines. A conspiracy theorist's dream, except everything was sourced, dated, cross-referenced. "Welcome to my obsession," she said, gesturing at the wall. I walked closer, saw Jason's face repeated dozens of times, different women, different locations, restaurant receipts, hotel records, property transactions. "How long have you been doing this?" 14 months, since he cost me everything. She pointed to a photo from 3 years ago. That's his ex-wife, Rachel. She left him after she found out he'd been sleeping with clients. Took half his assets in the divorce. He's been rebuilding since. More careful now. Targeting women who won't cause legal problems. Like Amanda. Exactly. Married women are perfect. They have too much to lose by going public. They keep quiet. Protect themselves. "So what's your plan?" Victoria pulled down a folder, handed it to me. Inside were financial documents, property records, email transcripts. Jason has been running a side business. He shows properties to wealthy clients, but some of those properties don't exist. He takes deposits, stalls on paperwork, eventually returns most of the money and claims the deals fell through. It's legal enough that nobody's reported him. But if someone filed a formal complaint with the state licensing board, they'd investigate. "You want to report him? I want you to help me build a case that destroys his credibility completely. Financial fraud combined with personal scandal. 2 separate investigations happening simultaneously. He won't be able to contain both." "Why do you need me?" "Because Amanda is the personal scandal. She's the proof that he preys on vulnerable women while conducting business. And you're the scorned husband who can testify about timeline, manipulation, psychological harm. Together, we're credible. Separately, I'm just a disgruntled former employee." I sat down on her couch, looked at the wall of evidence. "This is insane." "Probably. You want to destroy someone's entire life. He destroyed mine first. That doesn't make this right." Victoria sat across from me. Her expression was calm, almost peaceful. "David, I'm not asking you to be a good person. I'm asking if you want justice, or if you want to pretend none of this happened and move on like it doesn't matter." "There's a middle ground." "Is there? Because from where I'm sitting, you walked into Jason's apartment tonight and accomplished nothing except letting them know you're aware. They're probably figuring out how to manage you right now. Amanda will apologize. Jason will disappear for a few weeks. They'll wait until you calm down, then restart more carefully. That's how this works." "You don't know that. I've watched it happen before. Twice." She leaned forward. "Or you can help me. We can make sure Jason Brennan never does this to anyone else. We can make sure Amanda understands there are consequences, and you can walk away knowing you didn't just accept it." I looked at the photos on the wall, saw the pattern Victoria had mapped. Different faces, same story. "What do you need from me?" I asked. We spent the next 3 days building the case. Victoria had already done most of the heavy lifting. Now it was about connecting threads. Sunday morning, I drove to Jason's office building, waited in the parking garage until his Mercedes appeared, followed him at a safe distance to the gym, watched through the windows while he ran, took photos with my phone, not because the photos mattered, because I needed to understand his routine, where he felt safe, where he was vulnerable. Victoria texted, "Get anything? Patterns. He's consistent. Good. Consistency means predictability." Monday, I went to work like normal, told Patricia I was feeling better, buried myself in logistics mapping, and tried not to think about the fact that my wife was probably texting Jason right now. Amanda had called 6 times over the weekend, left voicemails. I didn't listen to them. Instead, I'd moved some clothes to a hotel downtown, Told her via text that I needed space. She'd responded with paragraphs, apologies, explanations, promises to fix things. I didn't respond. Tuesday evening, Victoria and I met at a coffee shop in the university district. She brought a laptop and more files. I found something, she said, opening a spreadsheet. Jason has been showing a property on Harbor View to 3 different clients. Luxury condo, ocean views, 2.5 million asking price. So the property doesn't exist. The unit number he's using belongs to a storage closet. He's been taking $10,000 deposits as good faith money, then returning them a month later, claiming the seller changed their mind. That's fraud. Only if someone reports it. Most clients are embarrassed they fell for it. They take their money back and move on. How many has he done this to? At least 5 in the past year. She turned the laptop toward me. But here's the interesting part. One of those clients is Harrison Cole. Old money, conservative values, very concerned about reputation. The name meant nothing to me. Victoria saw my expression. Cole is a major developer. If he knew Jason was committing fraud, he'd pull all his business. More importantly, if he knew Jason was sleeping with married women while conducting business, he'd make sure everyone else knew. Cole doesn't tolerate impropriety. How do you know this? I used to work for his legal team. He's ruthless about protecting his brand, and Jason has a meeting scheduled with him Friday night. Dinner at Riverside Grill. Big deal in the works. I was starting to understand. You want to blow up the meeting? I want Cole to know exactly who he's doing business with, and I want it to happen publicly enough that Jason can't spin it. How? Victoria smiled. That's where you come in. Wednesday afternoon, I called Amanda. She answered on the first ring. David, thank God. I've been trying to reach you. We need to talk, in person. Yes, absolutely. Where? Our house. Tonight, 7. I'll be there. She sounded hopeful, relieved, like she thought this was the beginning of reconciliation. I hung up and texted Victoria. It's done. You sure about this? No, but I'm doing it anyway. At 6:30, I parked down the street from our house, watched Amanda's Lexus pull into the driveway. She sat there for a moment, checking her makeup in the mirror, practicing expressions. I waited 10 minutes. Then I called Jason. Who is this? His voice was guarded. David Mitchell. We met Friday. Silence. Then, what do you want? Amanda's at our house right now. She thinks I'm coming home to talk about reconciliation. But I'm not going. I wanted you to know. Why are you telling me this? Because she's going to call you in about 20 minutes. She's going to be upset. And I want you to know that I'm not the one who upset her. You're playing games. I'm giving you information. What you do with it is your choice. I paused. But if you go to her, if you show up at my house, everyone will know. The neighbors, the people you do business with. Your carefully maintained privacy disappears. Is that a threat? It's a consequence. You wanted Amanda. Now you get to deal with the mess that comes with her. I hung up. At 7:15, I texted Amanda. Can't make it. Emergency at work. We'll talk tomorrow. Her response came immediately. David, please, I'm here. I need to see you. I didn't reply. She called 3 times. Then she called Jason. I know because Victoria was parked outside his building with a camera. She texted me a photo 10 minutes later. Jason leaving, dressed casually, keys in hand. He's going to her, Victoria wrote. Good. You know this makes it harder for her to deny. That's the point. Jason drove to our house, parked on the street, walked to the door. Amanda let him in immediately. Victoria sent another photo, the 2 of them visible through the front window. Amanda crying, Jason holding her. They look like a couple, Victoria texted. They are a couple. They just don't want to admit it. I drove to Victoria's apartment. She arrived 20 minutes later, laptop already open. That was cruel, she said. That was strategic. There's a difference? Not anymore. She pulled up the photos from tonight. Jason's car outside my house. Amanda and Jason visible through the window. The timestamps were clear. What are you going to do with these? I asked. Insurance. If they try to claim this was brief or meaningless, we have proof they're actively choosing each other. She closed the laptop. But the real move happens Friday. Cole's dinner. Exactly. Jason will be at Riverside Grill at 8. Professional setting, important client. He'll be on his best behavior. And we're going to make sure Cole knows exactly who he's meeting with. Thursday morning, Victoria sent an email from an untraceable account. The recipient was Harrison Cole's assistant, a woman named Margaret, who Victoria had worked with years ago. The email was simple. Margaret, you don't know me, but I know you care about Mr. Cole's reputation. You should know that Jason Brennan, who he's meeting with tomorrow night, has been conducting an affair with a married woman while handling business transactions. The woman's husband is aware and gathering evidence. This could become public very soon. I thought Mr. Cole would want to know before associating his name with Mr. Brennan's. A concerned professional. No signature, no evidence attached, just enough to plant doubt. Will she show him? I asked. She'll verify first. That's her job. She'll Google Jason's name, check for any red flags. Won't find much. But she'll mention it to Cole anyway, and Cole is paranoid. He'll start wondering. That's not enough to cancel the meeting. It's not supposed to cancel it. It's supposed to make Cole watch Jason more carefully, look for signs of instability. Then what? Victoria smiled. Then we give him something to see. Friday afternoon, I followed Jason from his office. He went home at 5, changed into a different suit, left at 7:30 for the restaurant. Riverside Grill was upscale, water views, valet parking, the kind of place where meals cost more than car payments. I parked across the street in a public lot and watched the entrance. Jason arrived exactly at 8. Harrison Cole was already seated at a corner table, visible through the floor-to-ceiling windows. Older man, silver hair, expensive watch. They shook hands, sat down. Jason was smiling, confident. This was his element. At 8:15, Amanda's Lexus pulled up to the valet stand. I tensed. This wasn't part of the plan. Amanda got out wearing the black dress, the one with the low back. She walked into the restaurant like she belonged there. I texted Victoria. Amanda just showed up. Where? The restaurant. She's inside. Shit. That changes things. I watched through the windows. Amanda was talking to the hostess, gesturing toward Jason's table. The hostess shook her head. Amanda insisted. The conversation was getting heated. Jason noticed. He stood, said something to Cole, walked toward the front. Whatever Amanda said to him, it wasn't good. His expression shifted from confusion to anger in seconds. He grabbed her arm, not hard but firm, and guided her outside. I got out of my truck. They were arguing on the sidewalk. Amanda was crying again. Jason was trying to keep his voice down, glancing back at the restaurant where Cole was watching through the window. I crossed the street. Everything okay? I asked. They both froze. Jason recovered first. You need to leave. I was just having dinner. Saw a commotion. I looked at Amanda. You all right? David, what are you doing here? Having a meal, same as you apparently. I turned to Jason. Isn't this a business dinner, or does your client usually appreciate interruptions? Jason's jaw clenched. This is none of your business. Actually, it's exactly my business. That's my wife you're dragging around outside. I'm not dragging. It looked like dragging. A small crowd was gathering. Valets, other diners. Someone had a phone out. Jason realized the situation was deteriorating. Amanda, you need to go home. Don't tell me what to do, she snapped. You're making a scene. You're making me a secret. You said we'd figure this out. You said, not here, Jason hissed. But it was too late. Harrison Cole had walked outside. He stood by the entrance, taking in the scene. His expression was carved from stone. Jason, he said quietly, Who are these people? Jason tried to smile. Failed. Just a misunderstanding. Personal matter. This is your personal matter? Cole looked at Amanda, then me. Your business dinner just became someone else's domestic dispute? It's not like that. Cole stepped closer. I received a message yesterday, someone suggesting you had complications. I dismissed it, but now I'm seeing complications standing right in front of me. Mr. Cole, I can explain. No need. Cole adjusted his cufflinks. I don't do business with people who bring chaos. Our meeting is over, and so is any potential partnership. He walked to the valet, retrieved his ticket, and disappeared into his car without looking back. Jason stood there, frozen, his big deal evaporating. Amanda was still crying. I didn't mean to. You didn't mean to? Jason turned on her. You just destroyed a 6-month negotiation because you couldn't wait one evening. You've been avoiding me all week. Because your husband is stalking me. Because this situation is... He stopped, seemed to remember I was standing there. You know what? I'm done. Both of you. Figure out your marriage somewhere else. He walked back inside, grabbed his coat, left through a side exit without paying the bill. I stood with Amanda on the sidewalk. Other diners had gone back inside. The show was over. You planned this, Amanda said. I didn't plan you showing up. But you knew. You knew about the dinner. You've been watching him. Someone had to. She wiped her eyes, mascara smearing. Are you happy now? You've ruined everything. I didn't ruin anything. You did that 3 months ago. She stared at me. I want a divorce. I've already filed. Her expression crumbled. When? Tuesday. You'll get the papers next week. You didn't even tell me. You didn't tell me about Jason. I guess we're both good at secrets. I walked back to my truck, left her standing there. As I drove away, I saw her collapse onto a bench, phone in hand, probably calling Jason even though he'd just made it clear he was done. The weekend was quiet. Too quiet. Amanda stopped calling. Jason's social media went dark. Victoria sent occasional updates, but mostly left me alone. I spent Saturday moving the rest of my things out of the house. Amanda wasn't there. She'd gone somewhere, her parents maybe, or a friend's place. Didn't matter. Sunday afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. David Mitchell? Speaking. This is Margaret Cole, assistant to Harrison Cole. He'd like to meet with you if you're available. I sat up straighter. Why? He has some questions about Jason Brennan. He believes you might have relevant information. We met Monday morning at a coffee shop in the financial district. Harrison Cole was exactly as he appeared at the restaurant, controlled, precise, wearing a suit that cost more than my truck. Thank you for meeting me, he said. I'm not sure what I can tell you. The truth would suffice. He folded his hands on the table. I've spent the weekend researching Mr. Brennan. Your name appeared multiple times in connection with property disputes he's been involved in. My name? Your wife's, technically, Amanda Mitchell. She's been listed as a consultant on several of his recent filings. I'm curious about the nature of that relationship. I chose my words carefully. Amanda and Jason have been having an affair. I found out 2 weeks ago. Friday night wasn't planned. I was as surprised as you that she showed up. Cole nodded slowly. I appreciate the honesty, and I apologize for what you're going through. Why did you want to meet? Because I don't like being lied to. Jason presented himself as a professional, trustworthy. The scene Friday suggested otherwise, but I need to understand the full scope before I make certain decisions. What kind of decisions? The kind that affect his ability to conduct business in this city. Cole pulled out a folder. I've made inquiries. Jason has been running questionable property schemes, taking deposits on units that don't exist, returning the money before anyone reports him. It's legal enough to avoid prosecution, but unethical enough that I won't tolerate it. You're going to report him. I'm going to make sure everyone in my network knows exactly who they're dealing with. Jason Brennan will find it very difficult to broker deals after I'm finished. He closed the folder. I wanted to tell you personally, because you deserve to know that the man who destroyed your marriage will face consequences. I didn't know what to say. Cole stood. If you need a reference for your divorce proceedings, my attorney can provide documentation about Friday night. Character witness, timeline verification, whatever helps. Why would you do that? Because I respect people who maintain their dignity in difficult situations. You could have made a scene Friday. You didn't. You simply told the truth. He handed me a business card. If you ever need anything, call me. Then he was gone, leaving me with cold coffee and the realization that I'd just weaponized someone else's sense of justice. Jason called me Wednesday. I almost didn't answer. We need to talk, he said. I don't think we do. Cole is destroying my business. Every client I had is pulling out. My firm is investigating. This is your fault. My fault? I didn't sleep with someone's wife. You manipulated the situation. You set me up. I told the truth. That's not manipulation. You want to destroy me. I want you to face consequences. There's a difference. He was breathing hard. If I go down, Amanda goes down with me. She was listed as a consultant on some of those property deals. If they investigate me, they'll investigate her too. She should have thought of that before getting involved. You really hate her that much? I thought about it. No, I just don't care anymore, and that's worse. He hung up. That night, Victoria called. Have you seen the news? What news? Jason resigned from his firm today. They're citing ethical violations. He's finished. I felt nothing. No satisfaction, no victory, just emptiness. You did it, Victoria said. You actually destroyed him. We destroyed him. Does it feel good? No. Me neither. She was quiet for a moment. I thought it would. I spent a year planning this, mapping every detail. And now that it's done, I just feel tired. What will you do now? Move on, I guess. There's nothing left to fight. She paused. What about you? Same. Move on. Figure out what comes next. Will you be okay? Eventually. We hung up. I never talked to Victoria again. The divorce finalized in January. Amanda signed everything without contest. We split assets evenly, sold the house, walked away from each other like strangers. I saw her once after that. Coffee shop downtown. She was with someone new, younger guy. He was laughing at something she said. She saw me. Our eyes met. For a moment, neither of us moved. Then she looked away, went back to her conversation, like I'd never existed. That was fine. Jason left the city. I heard he was selling insurance in Phoenix. Different life, different lies. I stayed, kept my job, rented an apartment with a view of nothing special, started running in the mornings. People ask if I regret it. The revenge, the manipulation, becoming the kind of person who destroys lives strategically. I don't know how to answer. I regret that it was necessary. I regret that Amanda chose someone else. I regret that I spent 3 months being oblivious while my marriage disintegrated. But I don't regret what I did after. Because here's the truth nobody wants to hear. Sometimes the victim becomes the villain. Sometimes the quiet one fights back. Sometimes the underdog wins by becoming something darker. I'm not the person I was 6 months ago. I'm not the husband who believed in transparency and trust. I'm the man who mapped his wife's affair like a logistics problem, who partnered with a stranger for mutual destruction, who looked someone in the eye and explained exactly how their world would end. I'm the villain in someone else's story now, and I've made peace with that. Last week I saw a woman in a red dress at a different bar. She was with someone, laughing, leaning close. For a moment, I wondered if it was Victoria, if she'd moved on to the next target. But when she turned, it was just a stranger, someone else's beginning. I finished my drink and left. Because some stories don't need epilogues. They just need to end.